Amesy here, the Amesy's Antics. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're well today because I have another crafty video to share with you. And in this week's video, I'm going to be trying resin art for the first time and making some beach themed resin art using a craft kit that I've previously talked about on the channel. I'll link that video up above if you want to check it out. And yes, this is going to be so much fun. I've not used resin before and I thought I would share my process. Whether it comes with any fails or mistakes, then so be it. So if you would like to see the process of trying this resin art for the first time, then let's get crafting. So in the kit you do get 3 wooden blanks. So there's like a circle coaster type, a square coaster, and then a larger round one. Now these are all made from plywood, I believe. Plywood boards, yes, birch plywood to be exact, so I was just checking my notes. So these are what we're going to put the resin onto. So that's good, and I think they advise that you start with the round one, work into the square one, and then using the big one as the final, and you have enough in the kit to do all 3, because why include all 3 if you can't do them all with the equipment that they send? Anyway, you also get the kit that you need as well. So in this little bag we have plastic cups to mix the resin in, some smaller 2 types of smaller plastic cups, some with measuring on them so that you can measure out the resin and hardener equally to get the right quantities to make it proper resin. And then you also get some wooden craft sticks that will help sort of mix it all together and spread the resin onto the boards. So that's really good that they give you the kit and tools that you need to make the resin products. And then finally you get a little instruction guide with pictures, which is great because sometimes reading things you just don't know what is going on, so having a picture step by step is perfect. And it also gives you safety instructions, so I think you get them in these instructions and you also get them on the bag, so lots of different safety things because resin is quite toxic, so there's lots of things that you do have to follow, so be sure to follow the instructions in there. And you also get, obviously, to make the resin you need some resin products. So you also get your hardener and resin, part A and part B, that you need to mix to do your epoxy resin craft kit. So they have their own brand, Resinates coated resin and hardener in the kit as well. You also get some coloured mica, so we've got a white mica, a lovely greeny turquoisey mica, and a lovely blue mica, and this is going to make up them beautiful waves of the kit. In there as well there's a little bit of stones and shells, so like a sandy gravel type with some beach shells, because you know we're doing a beach theme, so why not include some beach things. And as well you get some extra shells to dot around, and these are just lovely cute little shells. There we go. And finally you get a bit of natural looking sand, and this just gives a bit of texture, I believe, to the resin. And I think you put this on and it has a textured bit, I'm not quite sure. From the pictures it looks like this is separate from the resin, but we will see how to do this, I guess. So that is everything you need to make your beachcomber resin designs, and I can't wait. They do say it is optional, but it does help to get the waves really nicely in it, a heat gun, and this just creates a nice rippling and marbling through the resin. So yes, here is the Resin 8 kit. So before attempting any resin, I am just making sure I've got all my safety gear on. So I've got some goggles, a respirator, my gloves and long sleeves and an apron. And then I'm just putting my resin in a little bit of warm water before starting, because this can help reduce bubbles in the resin. And then it's time to measure it out. So I'm starting with the resin and measuring 40 millilitres of this out, and I'm sorry my glove was in the way for a little bit of that. Now I don't know if I've left it in the water a little bit too long, but it went a little bit clumpy, did the resin, so I'm just trying to get out as much of it as possible here. And then I am repeating the process with the hardener, except I'm not putting that in any warm water, but measuring out 40 millilitres of this as well. You want the resin and hardener to be exact measurements for them to work and set up when it is curing. So then using one of the plastic cups, I'm pouring in the resin first and making sure that I scrape out all of it from that measuring cup into that weighting cup, and then adding in the hardener to this as well. And once you begin mixing this together and it's fully combined, then you have 48 minutes to play with the resin before it starts to harden. So again, making sure I'm scraping all the hardener out and giving it a good mix up together. Now it recommends mixing this for 3 minutes, so I set a timer for this, and then I'm just gently mixing this and trying to pull that resin in from the bottom to the top so that it is fully mixing together. Now you're going to create air bubbles here, but if you mix it slowly and gently, then it should reduce the risk of bubbles. Then I'm going to separate the resin into 3 little containers so that we can colour these. Now I'm putting more in 2 of them and then a little bit in one, and leaving some in that plastic one. So in the little pot that has the less in, I'm just putting a little bit of the white colourant, and I don't know if this is paint or whatnot. I thought it was mica at first, but I think it's actually some form of acrylic paint, and it does mix in really well with that resin. Then I'm moving on to a darker blue, and this one is going to go into the pot that has the most resin in, and this is going to be the dark bit of that sea. So again, just placing this in and mixing it up. And then I've got the last colourant, which is a mica, and this has a really nice shimmeriness to it, and as you can see, you do get a lot of colourant, so I can use this in future resin projects. So that is a really good part of this kit. So yes, just mixing it all in until they are all nicely coloured. And then the final thing to do is add in some of that sand to the remaining resin in the pouring pot. Now I think I added about 3/4 bag full or 2/3, I can't quite remember what the instructions said now. But yes, adding this in, and the resin will thicken with this, and it'll be a bit more gooey than runny, but you can still pour it a little bit, if that makes sense. And this is what it does end up looking like before starting on the project. And then it's time to start the project. So I am using the larger circle to start with, and that is what the 40ml of resin and hardener does cover. So you have 10ml left in each bottle to complete the smaller parts in that kit. And the first thing is spreading on that sand. So as you can see, it is gloopy, but it does sort of spread out really easily and then begins to sort of level out. And I don't know if the resin sort of sinks a little bit, but you don't feel any of the sand once it is dried. So yes, just creating that beach part and trying to make it as even as possible. And then it is time to begin adding on the sea part. So I'm using the lighter blue for this. This is the one with the mica in, and just spreading this little bit at a time over the large coaster. And this is basically to sort of create little gaps, and we're going to fill some of them in with a darker one, and it'll really mix in the colours well. This has a really lovely shimmer to it, and you can really see that shimmer once it is cured as well. So yes, just spreading this on like before. And then I'm now adding on a bit of the darker colour. So this is going to be where the sea is like further out and where it would look a bit more like the ocean. So I'm placing this on the back end of that circle and spreading it around. And as you can see, it does level itself out quite well. So yeah, just pouring it and smoothing it. And then I'm going to drip a little bit into the lighter blue as well, so it's got a bit of texture within the whole of the colours. And then to add a bit of definition to the sea and create some wave type effects, we're going to add a little bit of white. So I'm just doing this along that shoreline initially and then placing the odd bits through that sea. And we're going to do a really cool thing with the resin to give it a bit of a marbleized, foamy look like you would see on the sea by using a heat gun. So yes, just placing some of that white on and dropping a few of the other bits of colours to really nicely mix it in. Then you can see I've got the heat gun and we're just going to gently turn this on and push the resin, so push the white into the other blues, and it gives this a really nice swirly effect and that look that you see in the sea if you're taking an aerial shot, like that foaminess of the waves, and I just think it looks beautiful. And when using the heat gun, you just have to be careful that you don't get too close to the resin. I did dip the end into the resin on a few occasions, and you also don't want to burn the resin. And as you can see, this is where I think I may have added a little bit too much of that resin because it has flooded the beach and it is dripping everywhere. But the final touch is just to add on a few of the shells and little bits to give it a bit of a raised, more definition look to it. And then you just need to let it cure for 24 hours, and this is what it looked like, lovely and shiny. And as you can see, we have had quite a lot of dripping down the sides. There was quite a big pool of it on the mat underneath, but never mind. I think you can sand this down, I'm just not quite sure how to do it. But then that is the first time of trying out resin, and here is the end products. There you have the process of making resin art for the first time, and actually I think it didn't turn out too bad. I had a little panic that when the resin was covering more of that beach bit, and I thought, oh no, I really mucked this up. I thought it was just going to be a complete sea scene, but actually we do keep some of that sand, and it looks like the waves have just come round on that deserted island and whipped up some of the beach. So yes, a little bit of a fail, but not too much, and it just shows that you don't use too much resin because it can cause it to flood like it did, and I had quite a little bit of overhang. And yes, it wasn't as daunting as I thought it was going to be. So if I can do the resin art, so can you. So let me know if you have enjoyed this video by putting it down in them comments below, and whether you have any resin tips and tricks to share, because I have got the resin bug now and I want to make a few more different bits out of resin. So put in your tips and tricks if you have any. And if you enjoyed the video, then please do give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to keep up with more of my creative and crafty antics, because there's probably going to be a bit more resin coming up on the channel now. And why not click that notification bell as well, because that will alert you each time my videos go live. I also have a blog which is Ames's Antics, and that's linked down below and up above for you to check out as well, because sometimes there's just a little bit more detail in the blog post. And with that said, I will see you in next week's video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week and are able to do something creative and crafty to get you through the week, like maybe trying out a bit of resin art. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!